I'm Dave Price, and welcome to Inside Iowa Politics. I'm not sure that I can remember a year where the issue of abortion takes on a more prominent role than it is this year. When and where can abortions happen, if at all, in question in our state and all over many parts of the country? Now, by this June, we should know what the Iowa Supreme Court thinks about the law Republicans passed that bans most all abortions except in the cases of rape, incest, and the health of the mother up until about 6 weeks after conception. The court held oral arguments on this matter on Thursday. I asked U.S. Senator Chuck Grassley about the issue of abortion facing our country right now, but he wanted to begin by reminding Iowans about what his position on this issue is.
I think that, first of all, I should state my view on abortion generally, which is well known by the people of Iowa because I've been reelected with the same position. I'm pro-life, pro-mother, pro-family. I accept and want exemptions for life of a mother, rape and incest.
This past week, former President Donald Trump announced his latest position on abortion. He celebrated overturning Roe versus Wade, which ended the legal right to an abortion federally. Trump says that he wants states to set their own abortion laws, but that he supports exceptions for rape, incest, and the health of the mother. He has not said what states' laws should be. President Joe Biden has criticized Trump for appointing the judges who ended up overturning Roe. Biden said that he essentially wants to bring back Roe versus Wade and make that the federal standard for the country.
It's kind of natural for Trump to take the position he's taken, I think, because we had Roe v. Wade overturned. It accomplished what a lot of us was hoping would be accomplished, to return it to the political branches of government to make a decision, and it would turn it to the individual states to make that decision.
Putting this issue back to the states has brought some chaos. Look at what's happening in Florida. The legislature there had passed a 6-week abortion law, and the Florida Supreme Court upheld that. But it also said that voters this November can have this statewide vote on whether there is a right to an abortion. So those two things could be at odds here. Then you look at what's happened in Arizona, where that state's Supreme Court has essentially reinstated what the law was back in 1864. That bans all abortions except in the case of a mother's life being in danger. And there are criminal punishments potential for anyone who carries out an abortion. Now, I asked Senator Grassley, in light of all of these changes, whether this is what he envisioned when he said that he wants states deciding all this.
I think whether you're pro-life or for abortions, I think you have to realize that it's going to be difficult to get 60 votes in the United States Senate on any of those issues, whichever way you're coming from, to get anything to the president. So I just think it's just kind of natural. It's going to be up to the states as it was prior to Roe v. Wade.
Now, if you look at states that have had statewide votes on the issue of abortion rights ever since the U.S. Supreme Court overturned Roe, you're talking about California, Kansas, Kentucky, Michigan, Montana, Ohio, and Vermont. In all cases, the majority of voters have sided with abortion rights supporters. So the majority of Americans do not want full bans or near full bans when it comes to abortion. We'll see how this issue plays out this November in our state and beyond. Time now for the final five. First up, the Farm Bill. Senator Grassley has ripped Senate Democrats for not prioritizing a new Farm Bill. Remember, Congress was supposed to do this last year, didn't get it done, instead extended the previous one. We'll see if the chambers can actually do something in an election year on this. Number two, making it easier for teachers and staff at Iowa schools to have weapons at school. The Senate just passed a version of what the House started, but the Senate version doesn't include the money the House had in there that would provide for grants so districts can do things like buying weapons for the teachers and staff. We'll see what the compromise is on this. Number 3, speaking of compromise, let's see what the final deal looks like on taxes and whether House and Senate Republicans end up not including part of this that the governor wanted, where the tax deal would be retroactive to January. Number 4, speaking of the governor, she signed the bill into law that would have law enforcement able to try to deport people who are here illegally if they commit a crime. Let's see if this ends up into the court system. And finally, number 5, you'll recall last December, the governor turned down $29 million in federal money that would provide summer meal programs for students. And it was supposed to feed about 250,000 students. There would have been a cost of about $2 million to the state to implement this, at least in the first year. Governor turned that down. So this past week, she has unveiled her own much smaller version of a summer feeding program. It's $900,000 compared to that $29 million that the state could have received from the feds. We don't know how many students could be fed by this. Big picture, we know that food banks across our state have been dealing with record demand for food, despite the fact that unemployment is so low. Clearly, there is an issue here. We have a lot of people who are apparently working, but not making enough money to put food on the table. Thanks for joining us this week for Inside Iowa Politics.